Hello, internets. My name is Johnny Womack, and I've got my main man, Duce.
What's going on? It's the podcast Wood Power. Too sweet to be sour. If you ain't down with this mess, you came to the wrong address, because we about to get funky like a monkey. Talking about our top 5 games of all time here at the Happy Hour with Johnny Duce. I'm so happy to have my main man, my brother, my tag team partner in life, Johnny Womack, and our good friend, Johnny's bromance that won't stop. It can't quit. It's just not gonna happen. Mike, what is going on, brother?
Well, it's a little worse now that you just kind of outed us on the whole internet, but I mean, I guess it's out there. You can't pull it back, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Of course, we're actually doing a live Google Hangout here for folks at home on the internet, on Twitter, on Tumblr, on Facebook. You'll be able to see our pretty mugs, so we're trying this out. And we think it's a really good conversation because top 5 games of all time is obviously very subjective. Because everyone's always going to have their own. It's very debatable, arguable.
No, there are right and wrong answers.
Yes, there are right and wrong answers.
And I will let you know when you are wrong. And so will everyone else.
True. So, hour with Johnny and Duce starts off with the Duce salute. Now, the first time you've seen this, we're going to do it on video.
Yep.
Duce salute. What that means.
Show it with our new Happy Hour with Johnny and Duce koozie. Ooh, look at that swag.
Yeah.
That nice
I'll
swag.
hold it for you, Duce.
Thank you, sir.
Not bad. Hey,
good times,
I thought it was going to have some performance anxiety doing it on live.
No.
It's good. It's good to go.
This is a podcast with no performance anxiety. Let me tell you.
It's perfect every
We
time.
might be on performance-enhancing drugs, but no performance anxiety.
No. So, of course, if you don't know who we are the Happy. We are a twice weekly podcast dropping on Tuesdays and Fridays for your listening pleasure. And, of course, you can find us all across the internet. Find us here at HH Podcast Show on Twitter, our podcast show, and you'll see the whole rigmarole there. We're everywhere in the internet that has social media, so definitely check us out. And Mike is also on Twitter at Stone500 on Twitter, and definitely
Stone501 on Twitter.
Oh, okay, Stone501 on Twitter, and Network. You're also Stone501. Is that correct, Mike?
Sorry, that cut out the last part. What was that?
The Steam. What's your Steam and
Steam, Reddit. Stone 500, and YouTube is Stone the Forbidden.
Okay, cool.
Well, before we jump into this, there's one thing I want to do. I want to plug Mike's beautiful wife, Angela's cross stitch. You should do that real quick before we jump into all.
Angela's Epic Yarn.
Oh yes, go ahead and see them. They're on Facebook. They're on everything. Show them the Kirby's.
Dude, these Kirby's are amazing. Check these Kirby's out.
They're too legit to quit.
Too legit to quit. Look at that detail. That is amazing.
And how do they find those, Mike?
You can go to Facebook and just search Angela's Epic Yarn. If you also follow the NVC Amiibo group on Facebook, every once in a while she'll post her stuff on that too, so you'll be able to find it that way.
So definitely check it out, and she does commissions and stuff. Just send her what you like.
Amazing blue shield. It's gorgeous. Blue shell. Sorry. And show them the pillow that you're sitting on.
Oh yeah, I'm sitting on a pillow.
Yeah. Oh my God,
pillow.
that's what I want.
Check this out.
Yeah, Isn't
that
pillow
amazing?
is baseball.
It's the Toon Link from Wind Waker or Young Link. I guess it's from anything really, but Young Link. It's really cool.
She does all that stuff on commission. You can go find her at how do you find her again, Mike? It's the Epic Yarn.
Angela's Epic Yarn.
Angela's Epic Yarn on Facebook. Especially if you have like rare amiibos that we don't have yet. She definitely likes to do work for those.
Yeah. And all really nice metric scarf I saw the other day. So go check out the pictures, go see that. So anyways, back to the main topic, which is our top 5 games. Who wants to start on this thing? Who wants to draw the short straw?
Well, this is the way I was going to do it. I'm actually
go to 5-1.
No. I'm going to do any. It doesn't have to be in order.
Okay,
that's too unless you want to. But I was thinking we'll just do one person at a time, and we'll discuss as that person's talking about it. So, for example, I want to start off with Mike since he is our guest. So we'll have him start, and then as we're announcing the game, obviously we'll all have comments with all his 5. We'll be best for last. Sounds order.
Sounds good.
Because unless you know it, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
Go.
Hold on, audio's kind of cutting out. Sorry, tech issues.
It's up 45.
Give a sec.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. You guys still hear me all right?
We're on deck
Oh, what the?
out of the gate. It's any order you want. It's not top 5. You can mix it up. So just whenever you're ready, you just go ahead and drop it lights out.
Yeah, and so you just discuss them. You'll do your 5, and then we'll actually just come in and comment as you're announcing the games and whatnot. We'll do you first. So.
Okay. Well, to start out with, I'm going to pick the obvious one, which anyone that's known me for 10 minutes knows is going to be Metal Gear Solid, PlayStation 1.
Oh, yeah.
The original, back on PS1, like you said.
And I don't know that the original on PS1's necessarily my favorite, but I thought that's just an easy one to go ahead and put in there because that was the game that first got me into the series. I played a demo on back when, there used to be demo disc. You all remember those?
Yep.
And I just played the demo over and over and over. And then there was like a new version of the demo. Like the original demo I played still had like the Japanese voices in it. And you only had like the very first part of the game. Then there was an updated demo with like a little bit more gameplay and English voices. And I played it over and over and over. So when the main game came out and I got it for Christmas, I immediately went to my bedroom where my PlayStation was, beat it like straight through, immediately reset, put in disc 1, and played through the whole game again.
Wow.
To this day, that is the only game that I've ever done that with. Where it was so good, I needed to play it twice.
Well, the disc that I got was I think we're talking about the same thing. It was the Shadow Moses right at the very beginning level, and I remember getting it in the official edition magazine. Do you remember? You guys remember those?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they would actually come with a demo disc of like 10 to 15 games, and I remember popping that in, and I was just like, "What is this? The music and the scope and how dark." And of course, I own it. I stole the original box, the casing, all that stuff. It was also a double disc game, if I remember correctly.
And if I remember correctly, and help me with this, Mike, it was one of the first double disc games for the PS.
I wouldn't say that's necessarily accurate because like Final Fantasy VII had been out before then.
Okay.
There was some other games too.
It was the first game I bought that was double disc for PS1. Yeah, but I'm not a huge RPG guy, so that might have been part of the reason. But I was like, damn, this game is. I loved it. You're right. I love. And it opened up a because I was used to shooting games, action games, but this game went, hey Rambo, you gotta hide and like hide in a box. And
if you hadn't played a stealth game like that before, it will kick your ass like immediately.
It's his job.
I will also say that it is one of the first, actually I think it might be the first console game I can remember playing that's completely voice acted. Every bit of dialogue is voice acted.
That's another good point.
Yeah.
And the voice acting was good.
It was
it was.
And I think for me, it's like it's one of those games as well that doesn't look as good as you remember because of the Silicon Knights. I wouldn't call it a port, but the Silicon Knights version that they did later. So you kind of everyone goes back and remembers. But it was like the original. The original PS1 didn't even have a mouse shadow, like and the hands were like blocks, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but back in the thing, because you were like, oh my god, this is full voice cast. And also it was one of the first games to have the DualShock controller, because it was that famous scene that they tech demoed that E3 when it came out of the guy dying of a heart attack when you're looking up at a guy. And I remember that day clearly as it was yesterday, but like that sense of like that controller vibrating intensely, and then all of a sudden that vibration just stopping gave this depth and like feeling to that scene and to that game. Like it really helped, give it another sense, another to video games, and that really obviously now you get so used to Rumble you don't even think about it, but back then it was like mind blowing to me.
No, it really was, because at the time I was working in the industry, and I remember seeing that and going, calling and said, "Hey, do we have one of those DualShock controllers laying around? can you put that to the side for me? I'm buying it when I come to work tomorrow because I bought it and then I took it home and then I was like, I have to have a DualShock controller for this because you had the 2 thumbsticks, but it wasn't DualShock unless you bought the special controller. Exactly. And I would totally remember buying that and thinking how much that added to the experience.
It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So that was part of Mike's Metal Gear Solid released, was it 97, if I'm not mistaken? Is that correct? I think it was 97.
I really should know this.
Yeah, I think it was 1997.
97 or 98.
Yeah, but it was released on the PlayStation, the original PlayStation. So that was Metal Gear Solid. Okay, Mike, what's up next?
Let me pull up my list here. In no specific order.
Right.
This one I would imagine would appear on a lot of people's lists since we're still on the PlayStation 1. But I'm going to say Castlevania: Symphony of the Night.
And I remember you let me borrow this game from you.
Yep.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, it was just. It's not really much of a challenge, at least especially for me, not anymore. But it's one of those games that is just. The graphics are pretty to look at. The soundtrack is absolutely amazing. Which is kind of a common theme in my list too, is that they all have pretty great soundtracks. But it's like, it's just one of those games I can just like play over and over. And I'm not sure why that is exactly, but it's just so well designed. The actual gameplay, the way you can like use all your items and your weapons and stuff. There's definitely things I don't like about it, but as a whole, it's one of the, I think a lot of people would agree it's the best Castlevania game to date, period.
Yeah, done by son who he's on Konami. He was titled with this project, and for me, it kind of came out of nowhere because when I thought of Castlevania, I always thought about the Super Nintendo or Nintendo, and then obviously Castlevania 4, which you have for Super Nintendo. Really good games, basic. Metroid and Castlevania had a similar premise of going, 2D scrolling, and you'd go back, re-enter areas, and you'd open up part of them. For me, Symphony of the Night, like you said, the music was phenomenal because the PS had the ability, because of the CD-ROM, you could hide more, you put more storage on there, so you could enhance the quality of the audio. So you'd have like full things in or whatever you want on there. And I think that was one of the main differences between the 64 and the PS1 was the audio was just leaps and bounds better.
Yep.
Some of the voice acting was a little cheesy, like even retrospectively.
Yeah. The voice acting is pretty infamous in that game. Everybody always quotes the "Die, monster! You don't belong in this world."
Yeah, Alucard. But no, I like the fact that like you, and not to spoil anything, but there's 2 versions of this game. I mean, there's 2 parts of this game that if you don't know about, this game is, what I'm saying? Like,
I think it's old enough that you can kind of spoil it at this point.
Okay, the reverse castle.
Well, and here's what was so genius about it is because you look at your save game, it'll tell you like what % you have the game completed, right? But the total completion you can get isn't 100%. It's actually 200%. But you don't even start getting to 200% until you get to the second castle. So the whole game kind of tricks you in thinking, yeah, you about got the game beat, whatever. Like, I remember the first time I beat the game, I got the bad ending. I killed Richter in the first castle, and I was like, it seemed a little short, and that's kind of a sad ending. So I'm like, but I know there was a lot of rooms and stuff I didn't explore. So I'm like, well, let me boot up again and see what else there is, because that's what the game did. Like, you wanted to explore every single corner of that place.
Exactly.
Then I'm like, well, here's some items, and like, here's these 2 rings you have, and it's like, well, there's a hidden message there, and then you figure out what that means, and you're like, holy crap! I just opened up I just doubled the size of this game by doing all this. So that was absolutely brilliant. And that was something that was actually kept a pretty good secret when the game came out until you played it.
Well, it's not like now where you E3 people spoil a lot of stuff that happens beforehand. But I love Symphony of the Night. I think it's a game that must play, and I think people can find it on PlayStation Network, correct?
Yeah, it's on PlayStation Network. I actually think, personally, the best version of the game is actually on the PlayStation Portable, the PSP, which you can also get on the Vita via digital download as part of the Dracula X Chronicles, which also comes with Rondo of Blood, which was the prequel to came out before Symphony of the Night. That game, they redid the voice acting, so it doesn't sound so bad. They added in a couple of the familiars, the little guys that follow you around, that were exclusive to the Japanese version.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just a little bit of extra touches. And plus, it's just, it's Symphony of the Night on the go, and can't really beat that.
Yeah, so that was Castlevania Symphony of the Night for a PS1, a 1997 released by Konami. And what else you got, Mike?
Okay, this one, some people may have heard of it. I'm going to assume most people haven't even played it. Full Throttle on the PC.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
LucasArts, good call, brother.
Good times.
You played it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
So
it is so rare for me to encounter people who have actually played the game. Like I grew up, my uncle, he had a Macintosh Power PC back in the 90s, and he was living with us for a while, and he had like all these LucasArts games. So of course, my first introduction was Maniac Mansion on the NES. Then he showed me Monkey Island, not Curse of Monkey Island, but LeChuck's Revenge Monkey Island 2, Indiana Jones Fate of Atlantis, all this. And he had a demo disc that had demo Full Throttle on there, and I immediately fell in love with it, and eventually somehow through a buddy from work, my dad got a copy of the full game, so I played the full game. Now, for those who aren't familiar, Full Throttle is kind of in many ways your typical point and click adventure in the same vein of the Monkey Island games, and these days you could compare it to like the Telltale games like The Walking Dead and stuff like that. But this had a much different setting. Like most point and click games at the time had like some sort of fantasy setting or swashbuckling pirates, but this was just like near future, not quite post-apocalyptic, but it was definitely like a rundown world where it was like
Mad
just
Max, like.
Yeah, it was very much like, yeah, I would say it's like the first Mad Max, probably very inspired by Mad Max. Not so much the Road Warrior, it's not that intense yet, but you play as the leader of a biker gang, and these business guys want to try and make a deal with your biker gang because they want to bring in more shareholders and bring in some funding. So they're like, well, let's bring these biker gangs to our shareholders meeting. That way we look like we're legit and everything. And then you eventually uncover like this sort of conspiracy that's going on. And there's like this theme of treachery and everything that's going on. And all of a sudden you lose your gang. You're kind of by yourself and you're trying to like go and save your gang from all this stuff. But it just had a very, very cool theme and feel to the whole thing that, the whole thing with like these biker gangs and this sort of like rundown desert towns that you didn't really see in any game I could think of at the time. Fallout maybe, but you definitely didn't have any vehicles or anything.
Also, Mark Hamill does voice work in the game.
Mark Hamill voices, he voices the main villain in that game, and it sounds, you can definitely, hear bits of Joker in that performance. He's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, the whole game's voice acted. All the voice acting, I think, is fantastic. Soundtrack is awesome too. Like the soundtrack is absolutely perfect for that game. They actually got it sounds like the kind of the sort of rock and roll music you would like hear in a bar or something. Very fitting. Of course, the game was done by Tim Schafer, who would later go on to do Psychonauts and Brutal Legend and stuff. So you can definitely see.
Mike.
There
you go.
Am I back? Yeah. Sorry. I was just saying that the game was also made by Tim Schafer.
Oh, Double Fine.
Yeah.
Well, before Double Fine, even back when Tim Schafer was still at LucasArts.
Yeah, he later do Grim Fandango and Psychonauts and like Brutal Legend and all these other games. Like the dude has a pedigree, but like when he was with LucasArts, like the dude was brilliant mind already back then. You could see where he was going to go, and he's obviously still doing some amazing things with.
Also, I feel like, and this is reading a lot in this situation, I think they gave a lot of they gave him a lot of rope. You know what I'm saying? Like, they gave him a lot of leeway, and they're like, look, this is a bright kid. This kid's going to do big things.
Yep.
And Grim Fandango, that was also a LucasArts game.
Yeah.
You know, they gave in that space because you didn't have a lot of room to work with back then.
Right,
so,
especially because this game, you know, was running on Duce actually.
Both of them were.
Yeah,
so
that's something, you know, the kids nowadays have like that boot things. You can run them is DOS, you know, like that's ancient history now. It seems like. Can people? Because I know good old games is like taking all these games that you can't play on your current computers, you know, like X-Men vs. TIE Fighter and all that. Like they're taking these games and making them playable for current gen PCs. I wonder if like this is a game you could find somewhere, because right now you can't really play it unless you do some trickery.
Yeah. Yeah, to my knowledge, there's no official way you can actually get the game right now. I know they put some of the LucasArts games on Steam, but Full Throttle I don't think is one that ever made it out yet.
Well, we got a remaster of Grim Fandango for PS4, so I'd be curious to see if they start doing other remasters for...
I would love for them to. You know, they actually, you may or may not know this, they were working many, many years ago. You know, back on when the PlayStation 2 was still current, they were working on a sequel to Full Throttle.
Right, I do remember that.
No joke.
Yeah, it got canceled, though.
Yeah, it got canceled, which is probably a good thing, because they said it just wasn't turning out good. Like, what they were working on, they just weren't happy with it, so it wasn't worth to try and release it. And what's also sad is the voice actor for the lead character, Ben.
Roy Conrad.
Yeah, Roy Conrad.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, he's no longer with us. Like,
he died of lung cancer. So.
Yeah, long time ago. So you wouldn't be able to get his voice back. So even if they did try to do a sequel, you would have to get a pretty good imitator, because that voice was pretty iconic for that game too. He was like kind of your Michael Biehn, like really gruff, sort of like, when I think of the road, I think of two things: asphalt and trouble. Like, God, I played that game, so I can beat that game in like 30 minutes. Like, if you know exactly where to go.
Well, if you can figure it out. So it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, that was Full Throttle. It came out in 1995. DOS, Mac, and Windows. So what's your next game, Mike?
Let's go. I know when we have talked, you and I kind of agree that Super Nintendo is one of the best consoles ever. If nothing else, for its library of games that it had.
Exactly.
So I gotta throw a platformer on here, and I tried to kind of make my list sort of like broad and like touch all these different genres. So I'm gonna finally throw another platformer on here. I'm gonna throw Donkey Kong Country 2 in there.
Oh, I love that one.
Wow, not the original.
Not the original. I love the original, but I don't like it. In my opinion, it didn't have nearly as much polish as the second one did.
Yep, I agree. And I also like the co-op too, the addition of Diddy Kong as well, which I thought was a nice little addition to the game.
Yeah. Well, Diddy Kong was in the first Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah, but you couldn't play
You couldn't play as him, though.
Not exclusively, you could. Well, I mean, you could in the same way you can play as Dixie Kong in Donkey Kong Country 2. You could still...
Oh, okay. I don't remember that.
Yeah, you could tag team your characters in and out.
Okay. Yeah, I can't. Maybe because I played Donkey Kong Country 2 more than the first one. That's what's like stuck in my head.
I was gonna say, no, Diddy, you can absolutely play as Diddy in the first one, but yeah, the second one, like it just had a lot more polish. It fleshed out the world a bit. You had like these NPCs you could actually talk to that did a lot more than just save your game, and like there were so many secrets to get. Like, it was a game that made you want to go and find every hidden bonus in every level to get that full ending. We good?
Mike, something that you want?
It's a game that made you want.
Hang on. Oh, there we go. I think we're... Are we back? Are we stable?
We're good to go.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Okay. What I was saying is that it was a game that made you actually want to go out and get all the collectibles, get all the bonus levels and everything, because it it showed you throughout the game, you could go to this Lost World and find all these other extra levels you can do. So it made you want to go and get that full ending.
Yeah, I really love the game. It's the game that I think about. Obviously, now that I'm thinking about, that's the game I always think about is the second one in the series. I think, like you said, it's really polished, well fleshed out, awesome collectibles, fantastic music. Grant Kirkhope and
David Wise.
Yeah. So they were both amazing on that project, which they would go later on to do Ukulele, which we'll talk about another episode. But yeah, really awesome soundtrack, great music.
Did you ever listen to the remix album that they did on OC Remix?
Yep, it was fantastic.
Which David Wise actually contributed to, which I was just like, oh,
it's nuts. Yeah, it's great. So, but yeah, so that's Donkey Kong Country 2 came out on the Super Nintendo. So,
by the way, the full title is Donkey Kong Country 2: Diddy's Kong Quest.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It took me way too long to realize the conquest part of it, the sort of pun they made in the title. Because I was like, yeah, it's Diddy's Kong Quest. Like, he's on a quest for Kongs. Like, he's trying to rescue Donkey Kong. And then I was like, I was much later. I was like a young adult at the time. And I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Conquest. Oh, you dirty.
You dirty apes. But yeah, fantastic game.
There. Really great game.
Losing you.
The Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
Really?
They had Game Boy
I knew
Color
they had
ones
Game Boy
before.
Color, but I didn't know they had 3 on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So definitely check those out. With Microsoft.
So you're trying to tell me that these games are rare?
They're rare.
Oh, I'm not.
We're here all night, folks. Actually,
Try the VO.
Yeah.
I wish I was there so I could not high five you guys.
So what's your other game? So we've already done what, 3 so far?
No, he's done 4.
Done 4?
No, that was 4. Yeah, so now I just got one more left.
Duce
Okay.
can do math.
He can.
For occasion.
Rare.
Ah!
All right, we should have this cheesy pose. Anyways, Mike, what is your last one? Drum roll, please.
Ow.
Doom.
Nice.
Wow, back on the original PC. Holy crap.
Wow.
Talk
I
about
love
it.
Doom.
Everybody who played it loved Doom. I have never heard a single person that was like, oh, I didn't really like Doom. Like, no, every time, like, at work, I have a Doom mouse pad, which has a title screen from Ultimate Doom printed on it. And every time people see that and recognize what it is, they're like, oh, my God, that game's awesome. I remember playing that game so long ago, blah, blah. I personally have a personal tradition of mine where every year, at no specific time, I will either beat from start to finish all 4 episodes of Ultimate Doom, or I will beat Doom 2.
Nice.
I don't get tired of it. It's always a game that I will boot up every once in a while, and it takes the littlest nudging for me to like fire up a game of Doom and just start playing Doom. Like, it takes nothing to convince me to play Doom again.
Well, I love Doom because it was like the sense of the unknown, because I've not played a game like this before. Like, when you first play it, you're like, God, I don't know what this is. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Wolfenstein preceded Doom?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, obviously, I felt like there was elements of Wolfenstein in Doom, but I still feel like Doom had its own character, its own, like, over-the-top, just shoot 'em up. You know what I mean? You had a blast. You had you found little weapons here and there and upgrades and all that stuff, and going in just different corridors, and a lot of games would actually capitalize on that, like Duke Nukem. A lot of games kind of like capitalize and just kind of do their own Doom-like game. And
well, back in the day, we didn't have the term first-person shooter. We had Doom clones, is what we call them.
True.
Yeah, everything was a Doom clone until we decided that was its own.
Until it became its own genre that just went out of control. But yeah, like, not even just like on a gameplay level, but on a technical level, just like the game engine. Like, everything was textured. Floor was textured. Ceilings were textured. You had parallax scrolling and backgrounds for outdoor areas. You had, these at the time pretty high res sprites for all the weapons, all the enemies, and everything. And the game it was fast. It was fast paced. It was just go, shoot the bad guys, shoot the bad guys, go. Another thing I loved about it, it's one of the few games I can think of that actually just it doesn't pussyfoot around. Like, you're fighting demons from hell. Like, it is literally hell that you are fighting. You are literally going into being invaded by the demons of hell, and I just thought, like, that's so freaking metal.
I love the sound effects.
So metal.
I love the sound effects too, though.
The sound effects are iconic.
Yeah.
It is insane.
The sounds of the doors opening or the shotgun blast and everything.
Yeah.
The plasma gun. Yeah, everybody recognizes that. The monsters.
No, they had didn't Xbox 360, didn't they do like either Summer of Arcade or remastering or something? Didn't they do a version for Xbox 360?
They did.
Yeah, you can get like, I don't know if it's still on the marketplace or not, but you can get like straight up, I think Doom 2's on there too.
Really?
I didn't know Doom 2.
I bought Doom 1. I didn't know Doom 2 was on there.
I might be lying on there, but what you can get if you don't have that option is the Doom 3 BFG edition, like the kind of little bit of an update they did for Doom 3
for Xbox 360. Yeah,
right, and PS3 and PC comes with Doom and Doom 2 on it.
Oh,
nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's another way you can get it. And I think you can just straight up get the games on Steam too if you want to go that route. But here's what's so, like, people love Doom so much that, like, people have made their own engines for Doom. Like, they've played around with it. They've modded the crap out of it. Now you can have, like, completely 3D monsters and items and everything. People will still play that game online to this day. And I mean a lot of people. Like, Z-Damon is a version I like to play every once in a while. People are still making new maps for it, still making new mods for it. Like, it is a game that will not die. Like, will be dead. That game will still be being played by somebody.
Sure, definitely. I mean, Doom is great. I think it, like you said, there was no other than like Wolfenstein, there was no other really games that was doing quote unquote first person shooters at the time.
No,
like you said, that was an unheard genre, and I feel like it's one of those games where you have to put on a top list somewhere. It may not be your top 5, but it's got to be on your top list because of the technical aspect of the game, what it did for the industry. I mean, there's a lot of things you've got to.
It is one of the most important games that have ever came out.
Very revolutionary.
Definitely.
So that is Mike's top 5. So, and of course, Doom came out in 1993 from id Software. They have obviously gone on to do other games as well. But yeah, so thank you for your top 5. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to break before we do the next one? Because that was like 40 minutes, just his.
No, we won't be spending as much time. I wanted to give Mike enough time to, really flesh out what he wanted to say.
Cool.
We'll just keep jumping in. We'll go with yours, Duce. We'll start off. All right. This is Duce's top 5 in no order.
Duce's top 5.
Feel free, Mike, to jump in anytime to comment on his game that he's talking about. So.
Yeah, so we're going to go from top to bottom, no particular order. The first one, I know this is going to sound very, very weird, but for me it was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And the reason being for that one was I didn't get in on the Xbox when it came to the multiplayer shooters. I only got to the multiplayer game when it came to Xbox 360, and I had an Xbox Live account, things like that. The first Call of Duty came out, Modern Warfare, which I liked, and I played multiplayer. But when 2 came out, what they did, which was completely different, they added a lot of RPG aspects to it. Like, you had to level up, you had to get a certain amount of points to get certain guns, and to get attachments for guns, and they really made it almost like, an RPG meets a first-person shooter. And because of that, I really, really started playing it, enjoying it, and I spent God knows how many hours on it, like stupid amount of hours. And that's kind of what made me fall in love with the Call of Duty series.
Sure.
Because I was like, well, I'm not just playing a first-person shooter.
When did this come out? Or what system was it?
It was on Xbox 360. I can't tell you the year right off the top of my head, but it was
Modern Warfare 1 on 360 or was it on Xbox?
Modern Warfare 1 was on Xbox 360.
Okay, so they both were on Xbox.
Yeah, so it was Modern Warfare 1, and then there was another Call of Duty, and then was Modern Warfare 2.
Sure.
And when Modern Warfare 2 came out, it blew. That was one of the games that really kind of, in my opinion, kind of concrete, consolidated, like, video games are a big deal. Like, it made so much money, people were turning around and taking notice. So, like, holy fucking shit, this game made just stupid amounts of money. Like, this beat the box office gross of, like, Titanic of how much money it made.
So, like, this was the, like, if you want to look at it, this is where the pendulum was swinging in that direction for Call of Duty, because now Call of Duty sells easily 30 million copies.
Oh, yeah.
Even to this day, even though it's dwindled down a little bit, but it's still selling really well.
It's still selling like gangbusters. I don't think anybody will sit here and say that it doesn't sell well, but this is kind of when it changed, if you will, because it made it just not a go out there, because there were games before this where it was team deathmatch, like you go kill people and you get the points and you win the match. No. You win the match, and now you upgrade to where you can get these guns that you couldn't get before. You get these attachments to the guns you couldn't get before. You had the perk system. You had all these different things.
You're saying this was like the revolutionary Call of Duty, like
the
Call of Duty that kind of
not only
on the map.
And not only that, it was revolutionary for first-person shooters. It was revolutionary for first-person shooters, like Doom was. Like it took it to a whole new level. Especially in the area of esports and in the level of multiplayer gaming.
Sure.
Like, you wouldn't have anything like this if it wasn't
for multiplayer, definitely. Also, keep in mind, at the time, before Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare came out, almost every military shooter was World War II.
Yep.
And we were getting sick of them by the time.
We were so done. I remember, like, they were like, oh, my God. And it was a funny thing, because after that, it was Modern Warfare 2, and the next game in the Call of Duty series, because I was in the industry at the time, was going to be Call of Duty World at War. And they're like, really? We're going back to World War II? But they said, look, this will be the last game ever that's going to be in World War II that's got the Call of Duty name on it. And everybody's like, oh, okay. And then they kind of rolled with it. And
that was the one that came out between Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2. But
it came out after Modern Warfare 2, because after that it was Modern Warfare 3 and then Black Ops.
No, Black Ops came out before Modern Warfare 3. I promise you that, because Black Ops was the last Call of Duty one I played, and then Modern Warfare 3 came out after that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, but
no, man. I mean, no. If he says that's what's up, that's what's up.
Yeah, World of War came out between them, because I never bought 4. I played it, I liked it, and then I bought World at War, and then I bought Modern Warfare 2, which I was the only one that lined up outside of GameStop to get the PC version.
Wow.
And I went up there and he didn't even ask. He was like, did you have PS3 or 360? I was like, I had PC actually. And he's like, did we even get those? And he's like, there was literally 2 copies that store got, and one of them was for me. And
wow,
some other guy pre-ordered the other one. That's the only thing that I kind of resent Call of Duty for a little bit, is like they do not cater to the PC audience really, like hardly at all. No. It is strictly console shooter.
And correct me if I'm wrong on this, because one of my buddies, Nate, who's a good friend of the show, told me this. They used to cater to the computer gamer all the time, but it was right around Modern Warfare 2 where they kind of ditched the PC and went straight to console. Because he said before that, like the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like Modern Warfare 1, he was like, that was great to play on my PC.
It was.
Right around, Modern Warfare 2, he's like, oh, they just pretty much said, screw it. We're not going to deal with them.
Well, and Modern Warfare 2 was the first big game that came out that said we're not doing dedicated servers for multiplayer. It's going to be like peer-to-peer multiplayer, which caused a lot of people to make like this Steam group called like Boycott Modern Warfare 2, which if you were on the internet, you would know when Modern Warfare 2 came out, someone took a screenshot and like over half the people in that group were playing Modern Warfare 2 as soon as it came out.
So yeah, I never played it because the first Call of Duty game that I ever played was Black Ops, the first Black Ops, which I really liked.
Which you said was right after Modern Warfare 2?
Yep.
Okay.
So I played Black Ops, and then Black Ops 2 I played because of the zombie stuff, because I had a friend of mine that was really big into the zombie stuff. But yeah, I mean, I haven't played Modern Warfare 2. I do know, from the gaming aspect, how important it was, to the history of gaming, and how budgets for games have really gotten huge since then too.
And I think that was the game that kind of launched it, because they were like, holy shit, because they touted how big the launch of Modern Warfare 2 was. Like, it was at that time monumental in the gaming world. They're like, holy shit, we can make this much money off of a game. And so they started throwing more money at games. And I think part of that is the reason why we have the big AAA titles we have now.
Sure. So that was Modern Warfare 2, which released on the Xbox 360 and PS3.
Yep.
And what's your next, Duce?
My next one is one of my personal favorites. It is Super Mario World. I had to actually save up my lawn mowing money to buy a Super Nintendo, because I had an original Nintendo my parents bought for me. And they're like, no, we're not going to buy you another one. You need to get a job. And I'm like double digits. I'm like 10. So I had a lawnmower, and I'm like, you know what? Let me go around and ask the neighbors and see if they'll let me mow the lawns for them. And they did. Like, at one point, I had 10 lawns a week I was lawn mowing. And it took me about 4 months, and I got enough money for my Super Nintendo. And I loved it.
The original got bundled with
Super Mario World, and that was the first game it had on it. I was like, oh my god, this is so pretty. And don't get me wrong, I love Super Mario World 3. It's one of my personal favorites. But once you kind of jump to that next level, the graphics were crisper, the sound was better, there were so many more colors, and you got Yoshi, who I loved. It was like this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
There's a lot of hidden secrets too in the game, and
oh yeah,
some of it was in your face obvious. You were like, what are these yellow dashes mean? And you come back later to find out they meant blocks that you'd unlock for later on. But there's a lot of nooks and crannies with Super Mario World, and of course, as a technical aspect, I do agree it was more superior than anything that Nintendo's done up to that point. And it released back in 1991, and just think about it, crazy to think about where games have taken from that point on, because Nintendo has pretty much been just rehashing the best parts of Super Mario World ever since, if you think about it. Especially with the new Super Mario World games for the DS and 3DS.
And the Super Mario Maker is coming out.
Super Mario Maker is going to have
Which
Super Mario
looks
World.
incredible. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. So no one's going to argue with you with that. That game is fantastic.
I loved it. It was one of my personal favorites.
And the secrets you could find in that game too, like the Star
God,
Road.
they were silly. It was almost like the Metroid of Super Mario games, because you go do something, it's like, oh, but you can come back to this level and do this. And I'm like, no,
like you beat all the secret levels, and then the turtle shells turn into Mario faces, and you're like, what?
Yeah. And I actually legitimately to this day still get creeped out when I go to a coast castle. Like when Mario goes and he looks up and he's like, oh no, and then just the music and the sounds that the ghosts would make, and like that still creep me out, and I love the music. The music in this game is fantastic, but the ghost theme is just awesome. I love
the athletic theme, the ragtime piano thing they got going on. It's fantastic.
Awesome. So that Super Mario World came out in 1991 on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Duce, what you got next?
My next one is TMNT, the arcade game.
Ooh.
I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a kid, as we all probably did.
I still do. I had pajamas. I have the underwear, and I still love Mike. I still love.
I'm wearing the underoos right now, and I don't even feel bad about it.
I saw they're coming out of their Shells tour. I ain't mad.
Yeah.
Skipping stones.
I'll tell you what. That is one of, side note, one of my favorite stories from my mom. The Orlando Science Center had this big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was like a convention, but they didn't call it a convention. So she got tickets, and it was sponsored by Pizza Hut, of course. So we went, and me and my mom and one of her friends and one of the kids I went to school with, we all went. We had pizza, and then they actually had the Ninja Turtles come out, and they were in the. It was way before the coming out of their shells tour. This was way more ghetto than that. Like these turtle costumes that came out, and they're like, "Hey everybody, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Those are scary. Like those are the turtles I know."
You immediately have regret. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Mom took me. We got all their autographs. But then this was actually cool as shit. They took us to the planetarium and they showed us like 4 episodes in a row, hopped up on like Mountain Dew and fucking pizza, shitty ass pizza. 4 episodes of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in a row on the planetarium. So you're like leaning back, looking at the ceiling, and there's like 4 episodes of the Turtles. There was like at least 3 guys there who were high as balls, and like it was the greatest thing I think that's ever happened. So it was awesome.
That's awesome.
I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and like as a good parent, my son of course loves them too. And I have like 600 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like out of the box, unfortunately.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you played with your toys. But yeah, like I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and just so you folks at home know, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game essentially came on ported as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. The game.
Yeah, for the NES.
Yeah.
Because I had it for the NES, which I played like crazy.
But it was a huge leap in
oh
technical
my
fidelity
God, yeah.
from the first one.
Oh,
the
listen to you
off
talk
of the
about that,
lines,
bitch.
the NES one, where I still to this day have not got past the water level, which is nuts.
Nobody can.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, you think the water level sucks? You've never even seen the Technodrome. That is I can beat the water level. I cannot touch the Technodrome.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade. I remember going in back when arcades were like on the corner everywhere. You know, you go to arcade. They always had the bowling alley or the pizza, hut or whatever. Like they'd have all these arcades. I remember going in, just losing quarters after quarters after quarters into that thing, and I was like shell shocked, and you'd fall down and then the character select
to a little turtle.
Yep, the character select screen and like you get
like the first level, it's on fire.
Yeah.
Like the entire first level, like half the screen is nothing but fire, and you're like, "Oh my God, this is intense! This is going in hard."
Little Mausers going back, shooting beams at you, and you're jumping and dodging. I mean, it was such a great game. It's so much fun. It's like it was after the cartoon has really got successful, so obviously you can see some of that.
Yeah, you already knew because kids were already super excited about Turtles.
Yeah,
and so it kind of hit that sweet spot when it was in that like the highest peak, probably Turtle Mania.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
So, but I loved it because when I got it for my NES, something you kids don't know about anymore. You actually got an instruction manual that came with your video game, and the back page you could rip off, and it was like a coupon for Pizza Hut. It was like, by the way, if you rip this off, you can get half price off of a Meat Lover's Pizza. Yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, Mom, let's go to Pizza Hut." She's like,
those coupons still work, by the way.
Coupons, shit! I use coupons like every day. Are you fucking high? Like I use.
No, but I mean the ones that came out of that instruction manual. Like you can still redeem those. Those don't have an expiration
I'm not
date.
even gonna lie. If I go to a Pizza Hut right now, I'd be like, "Look, I got my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game coupon." I think there's some straight up nerds in there like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna use my master passcode to get you this," because everybody in their brother's Turtles fan. I don't think anybody that works at a Pizza Hut, when you bring them that ticket, is gonna be like, "No, that's not working."
Right.
They're gonna be like, "You know what? Holy crap, you've got this. I actually want to pin this back. I'm gonna frame it. I'm gonna frame it in the back of the Pizza Hut. So sure, I would be more than happy to give you half price."
So Duce, that was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade. Also, obviously came out as number 2 for the NES.
Yep. So here is a big one. I actually think it's gonna hit a lot of our sweet spots. Command and Conquer.
Oh, sweet.
Never played it.
Are you fucking kidding me, Mike?
I never played a lot of strategy games. I don't care much for real-time strategy games, so that was just a genre I never really got into.
Oh my goodness. Command and Conquer.
Oh my God, I played the shit out of that. That was like probably one of my first 2 or 3 ever games on a PC.
I love Command and Conquer.
I played that ever-living shit.
Especially Red Alert when Red Alert came out. Red Alert took it to a whole nother level. Because obviously it was you could play it on PS1 and all that as well. So you had like a cross-platform there. Fantastic series. For those who don't know, as Mike said, it's a real-time RTS, real-time strategy. You control a number of troops. These all usually dealt with war, command, and you command your troops to conquer. Correct, essentially. Very
Hence the name of the
Here's
game.
the name of the game. Very, very simple concept. You could get really deep into it later on. There's lots of story there as well. And Command and Conquer was also almost to like a cult following for their CG cutscenes, because they had CG in there as well as live action.
Yeah.
With Michael Ironside was in a few. Like there's some really, really funny ones later on down the road. But like,
isn't there one where like it's like the cutscenes basically star like porn actresses or something, or they look like porn actresses
They do,
if they're not.
So you played the game, Mike?
No, I just watched the cutscenes because
literally, there's points where it's like you would have like 2 or 3 major actors that would be your like main stars of the game.
Yeah.
But then all the basically other people that were in the scene, you're right. There
was like Tim Curry in one of them.
Hey, look, we're filming a porno like in the next bay.
Well, I think that was the one that Tim Curry was in it.
I'll give you $25 in a meat lover's pizza. Sure.
With my Turtles coupon. I think one of them had like Tim Curry in it, and like at some point he's going on and he says that he's going to take it to space. Like.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. It's pretty out there. There's a pretty big cult following for Command
I
and
love
Conquer.
those games.
I love the Hell March theme.
Yes. The Command and Conquer, it came out on PC. I think Mac got it later on. I can't recall that, but I know it DOS as well.
Yeah, and also the PlayStation.
Yeah, PlayStation then got that as well. Anything that was CD-ROM based at the time got a version.
Pretty much.
Okay, Duce, your last one, I think, right on the list
is X-Wing. The X-Wing games for the PC. That was actually, I can tell you right now. Besides my original 8-bit Nintendo. That was the first game I ever got on a PC. I loved it. It was like, oh my god, I'm an X-wing fighter. I'm Luke Skywalker. I can fly around an X-wing, and I'm doing missions. And it was probably
because you were in the view of the cockpit, so you felt like Wing Commander style. You felt very like, oh my god, this is the first time. I mean, obviously you had like the Atari stuff and the Sega 32X versions before that, but like this was like the first time that you really got to like feel like you were in the cockpit, and it looked really good. It played really well, and of course later on it spawned the X-Wing vs TIE Fighter series, which is mind blowing. And I know those games actually are on GOG.com, the good old games. Those you can definitely check them out.
That was the first time I played it. Is when they released them this year on GOG.
Really?
Oh wow!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Really, really good though.
Don't you like need a joystick to play that though? Like,
well, actually, it was funny that you say that because I remember we had gotten my mom, God bless her, she got breast cancer. As soon as she got done with surgery and everything, she came home, and then we got the computer so we could do work with her on that. And we got the X-Wing game. And the next Christmas, I actually got the joystick that went along with it.
It definitely helps. It's not required.
No, but it
does
makes a night and day difference.
Night and day difference in controls and stuff like that. Because I remember I had a friend of mine that let me borrow his joystick.
Yeah, but you needed to. You actually needed a good joystick. And actually, I remember because my brother bought it for me for Christmas because my brother at the time was living with me, him and his wife, at my mom and dad's house. And so for Christmas, he got me this thing is fucking gigantic if you look at it now. This Microsoft joystick, and it was like the joystick and had a trigger and buttons on the top and all these buttons on the side. And you actually had to hook all this shit into your computer to make it work. So I had like full on like, oh, I'm driving the TIE Fighter. I'm fucking Luke Skywalker. I'm coolest kid in the world. Like, but I loved it, man. I loved it. The TIE Fighter and then the X-Wing games.
And of course,
TIE Fighter versus X-Wing games.
The synth version of John Williams' score always makes me chuckle.
Oh, yeah.
But no, really good games, and like Mike said, they're on GOG.com. Definitely check them out. They're definitely worth your time, and you can get them pretty cheap. I think $10, something like that.
Oh, I bet. I bet nowadays.
I think $10 will get you like both of them.
Oh wow! So
really?
You definitely need to drop that $10.
Oh yeah,
for sure. So that Duce. So that was your top 5, sir.
That was.
Now down to mine. Mine. I feel like all of our lists are really diverse. I actually had to change mine in mid podcast because Mike has one that is on my list. So to make
I
it not,
told you to drop your list early.
no, it's cool. But I had a few honorable mentions on there just in case that happened. So I'll tell Mike which one it is at the end. That was originally on my list. So of course, pulling up my list now. I'm actually gonna go in order from 5 up. One that Duce was actually playing before we started, Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, buddy.
Nice.
Yeah, it was back in 1991 in the arcades, and I was telling Duce, like, I remember just dropping quarters after quarters after quarters after quarters for this game, and I remember having to, like, mow lawns, extra lawns, and stuff like that, and I remember just really, really, love on the weekends on Fridays going and playing Street Fighter, and just seeing how diverse, because up to that point, you've never really, we've seen fighting games before, but not to this scope, where they actually had a, quote unquote, a story there, where you had like backgrounds, like you'd actually see, like when you'd wait for the credits, like they had the age, the blood type, and all this. Like they actually like broke these characters down into something that people actually like. All right, this has a history here. And then just the way it played, and then the backgrounds and everything. The music is of course iconic. Like I don't know anyone that doesn't know, Ryu or Guile's theme. I mean, they're amazing to this day. But just the way the fighting mechanics were, the blocking system, it still holds up really well. Street Fighter still sells really well. Definitely looking forward to Street Fighter 5, which is a PS4 exclusive and PC. That's gonna be awesome. I've bought in pretty much every iteration of Street Fighter, even the Alpha, EX plus Alpha. I have them all. Love the series, but I remember the first time, and I actually have it in my SNES right now because Duce was playing it before we started. I remember back in 1992 when I had my Super Nintendo, I remember like, oh, I want this. And I remember getting it for my 10th birthday. My mom bought me Street Fighter 2, and I was so excited because I had rented it at Blockbuster back when Blockbuster was around. For you kids now, I have no idea what Blockbuster is. Back when I was Blockbuster, and I remember just renting it out. Blockbuster would have all these events, like a Street Fighter tournament, and like you could go into the Nintendo World Championships and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And it was really, really cool. But Street Fighter 2 holds a special place in my heart. The original. Really love it. Duce loves it. He's been playing it. So, Mike, you ever play Street Fighter 2? Any history with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I always remember like seeing it in our arcades, and I would like try it like once, and then I decided I didn't want to try it anymore because there was no way I was going to get good at it in time to like not spend a lot of money on it. Because like the first opponent, like I remember when I played, always seemed to be Ryu. And
he's a bitch.
And he would stand there and he'd shoot fireballs like the whole time. Yeah. Like that was pretty much all he did. I don't know what to do with that. So like
I jump on top of him and be like, Shoryuken, and you're like,
well, and I think a lot of people, the first character they would want to play as would be Duce. Why? Because he was stretchy, so he could like just kick you from across the screen and not even worry about it. I remember I was kind of mad because they put Street Fighter 2 on the Wii Virtual Console, and I think it was the World Warrior version, which was the one that let you, or no, I'm sorry, Championship Edition. That was the one that got you. No, it was World Warrior. World Warrior did not have Sagat and Bison that you could play as.
Right, World Warrior was what Street Fighter 2 was.
Yeah, that was like the base game, and then Championship Edition added the bosses.
Championship and Sega, yeah.
And then they did Turbo.
And then Super Street Fighter, yeah, and all that.
So right,
they iterated on it.
But so I had bought it on Wii Virtual Console because I'm like, I really want to play this. And then it was like many months later, like Turbo Edition came out. I was like, well, dang it, why didn't you just put this version out? Why did you put out the much crappier version? And why are they the same price?
Well, from a Street Fighter 2 purist here, I actually consider Street Fighter 2 a better fighting mechanically, a more sound game, because people with Street Fighter 2 Turbo, because it was faster, you could actually cheat. There was technical glitches because of how fast the game was running that you could actually go through any defense and the way you were attacking. So from like a purist standpoint, Street Fighter 2 Turbo was not as good as the original Street Fighter. So just a little 2 cents on that. We can go on forever about Street Fighter. But yeah, Street Fighter is I actually had to change it because Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
I was going to say, I bet it was Symphony of the Night that was on your list.
Yeah, because I love that game. Obviously, we talked about it a lot. Number 4, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past is still considered, in my personal opinion, one of the best. We can have that conversation for another day. But one of the best, Legend of Zelda games. Obviously, just the sense of exploration was amazing. The music, Koji Kondo's music, was just phenomenal.
Definitely the best 2D Zelda game. I think a lot of people would have a hard time arguing that.
Yeah, it's really, really good, and it still holds up today because I just got done playing through it recently for one of our NVC video game book clubs, part of the same group that does the Amiibo group and all that. Really, really cool. It still holds up well. It's still really hard. Like, I thought I owned that game back in the day, and I knew it really well, but it is still really challenging. I died several times.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, trying to find the heart pieces and everything like that. So it's a really, really good game. I really enjoyed it. So if you've not played it, it's available everywhere. So, I mean, they had Game Boy Advance carts. It's been everywhere. You can find it. So definitely check it out. We don't need to go into full detail about that.
Everybody knows Link to the Past, I think.
Everyone knows it. Another one that is quite a debate for Final Fantasy fans. Number 3 is Final Fantasy II, which is what it was released in the United States. It was actually Final Fantasy IV in Japan. Whoa, I know it's a little confusing. I actually consider that one of the superior Final Fantasy games. I know if the internet explodes and they go Final Fantasy VI is the best. I'm not saying Final Fantasy VI is not bad. It's great. But I just connected more with Final Fantasy IV.
Oh, 4 has a lot of love. A lot of people love 4.
Well, the theme of love music, like that's what that theme is. I mean, there is a lot of amazing things that go on with the characters, and then Kain and Cecil, like their story, and having a friend backstab you, and then later on try to redeem himself. Like there's these allegories and archetypes that we've all dealt with in our own lives. It was really deep. It was one of the first real RPGs that came stateside that really was like super emotional for me. That really made me fall in love with RPGs. Even though I played the Final Fantasy 1 and 2 prior, but this was the one that really hit it in America from a standpoint of like, hey, this is something everyone needs to play, and I was very happy back with Square was able to bring it over to the United States because it had a really good translation as well. The translation was really good. So, anyways, I know the internet, is mixed on that, but I love Final Fantasy 4 or 2 as it was released in the US.
It's almost like it's your list.
It is my list. And there's a very, I guess I love RPGs. My next one is probably the best RPG ever made, period. Secret of Mana came back out in 1993 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It was a game that really, my sister and I really got the bond playing. We beat it over a week during the summertime. And we probably went 60 plus hours into the game. It was the first start. It was revolutionary too because it was the very first RPG that it's action based. It wasn't turn based for Japanese role playing games. So that was revolutionary at the time. Also revolutionary was that you could have 3 people play on screen at the same time, thanks to the multi-tap system. That you could actually plug 3 controllers into the system, which was mind blowing at the time. No one could do that at the time. I just love them. It is some of the best music I've ever heard, period, regardless of video games or anything. So it's very excellent. Definitely check it out. It's available on the Wii Virtual Console. There's I think an Android and iOS version as well. Awesome game. So definitely check that out. Secret of Mana, Super Nintendo, 1993. And now I leave the last one, which we'll have some discussion on now, since the other ones I kind of breezed through really fast. Super Mario Brothers 3. Because Duce originally had it on his list,
I did,
and then he changed it to Super Mario World.
Yeah.
I still consider Super Mario Brothers 3 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, came out in 1990, as one of the best games ever made, period.
Game
no doubt.
Period. And I remember my dad, he worked at 7-Eleven at the time. He worked there for 35 years, but back then 7-Eleven would actually, you'd get games there, like you could buy games there. I remember he came home, because I was somewhat disappointed with Super Mario Brothers 2, because it obviously, for those who don't know, it actually was a different game, Doki Doki Panic, right? So it felt so different than the first one, and I remember playing Super Mario Brothers 2 being kind of, I grew to like it later, but when I first played it, I was like, ooh, I don't know about this. It was really confusing to me. And then when he came home, I didn't even realize there was Super Mario Brothers 3 yet. And then he goes, hey, I got a new game for you. And I'm like, all right, was it Jaws or whatever? I don't know. I was kind of joking with him at the time, and he came in and he goes, no, this is this new game that just came out like 2 days ago. And I go, okay. And I opened it up. He had it wrapped, shrink wrapped or whatever, and I opened it up and I was like, Super Mario Brothers 3? What are you talking about? There's a third one? Like, at the time, you didn't have the internet. You didn't have, I mean, unless you had Nintendo Power.
You had never seen The Wizard.
You didn't, yeah, you didn't see the movie or whatever, right? I had seen the movie, right? So I was just like, what?
They don't have movie theaters in Louisiana. So
No,
you didn't know.
Right.
But no, I was like, I had no idea this game was out. And I remember playing it and just being blown away by, because it was the first game that really had like this map, like this world map. Like that was revolutionary for its time, you know, a world map that you would go and you get to pick where you want to go, and you felt like you had like, it felt like an adventure, you know, like it really felt like an adventure. And I remember just the colors, like it was on the same system, but the way they just, I don't know, it looked mind-blowingly better than Super Mario Brothers 1. And I just remember seeing the colors and just the worlds, and then the Koopa kids, you know, and I just loved everything about it. And then, of course, later on, you find out warp whistles and all that stuff. But I remember actually playing the game several times, 1 through World 8, all the way through. And this was back in the day where you didn't have save states. So I remember, I don't know how many times I almost pulled my hair out. Like my mom would be coming and cleaning. I'd have it sitting there. You know, I do have like a little tape on there. Do not touch it. She'd accidentally bump it. And you guys know back in the day,
Right.
sometimes if you bump the system, it would reset or shake or whatever.
The cartridge even.
Yeah. I was like, no! I was like,
Well, and controllers weren't wireless either, so people were tripping on them all the time, and
it's true.
you were like punching your sister.
I think she like bumped it by accident, and it reset the game. And I'm like, I put all these hours into this. It was World 6. I'm like, you know, I don't.
Right.
Yeah. So I later on obviously would go through and beat it, and then of course the release of the beautiful release of Super Mario All Stars for Super Nintendo. You finally get to revisit the game with updated visuals, and you got to save your game, which. Whew,
yeah.
That game was really long, actually, and that was the thing that kind of differentiated Super Mario Brothers 3 amongst other games, because we always talk about, you know, games and value, like putting your money into it. Well, games back in the day were actually really short. Like you could beat Mega Man in like an hour. You know, like if you were that good, you can beat it in an hour.
You couldn't save your game, so you had to be able to beat it in one sitting.
Right. So that was the thing. Like Contra was another game that, you know, was really hard, but you had to beat it in one sitting because you couldn't save anything. But that was why you got a lot of replay value of it, because it was really hard and you wanted to get better. But but Super Mario Brothers 2 was actually from a actual gameplay. If without war whistles, obviously, you actually spent several hours to be able to complete it from World 1 to World 8. Like I'm talking about 20, 30, 40 hours it could take you to beat it. You know, obviously at the time you didn't have all the maps and stuff, so it could take you a long time to retry something. But yeah, warp whistles, obviously you can beat it in what, 12 minutes is the world record, something like that.
Well,
really
and like every world that you encountered like would throw something new at you in the game too. Like you had to play through the whole game to see everything, new enemies, new types of levels. Like remember when you first get to World 4, the giant world?
Yeah.
And you start seeing the giant enemies and you're like, oh my god. Like,
yeah. That's why I hate the fact that the warp whistles exist, because it makes you not want, like you miss out on all of this content that Nintendo did. And you're right, every world feels so different. You start off with the World 1, which is the amalgamation of everything, and then World 2 is like the desert world where you've got like the fire dudes, the fire snake jumping around and all that stuff. Like, and then you have the water world, World 3, and then World 4 is the giant world. I mean, obviously, and then World 5 or 6 is the cloud world.
World 5 is the cloud world.
Yeah, so
which is crazy because it's like you do this one odd looking level, and then like you have a completely different map you're looking at.
Yep. It's really strange. Obviously, I've played this game a lot. I know all the levels. But the thing I hated, here's one thing I have to bitch about. I hated World 8 so much because of the one section, we all know what it is, where you have several things. Like I feel like they throw in all kinds of, you know, fights at the end. You know, you've got like a modified airship, but it's on the lava and all. Like they threw everything you've done through World 1 through 7. They throw it here in World 8. And then you think you get through it all. Then you go down a warp pipe. And then there's these 5 little glowing boxes.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's almost impossible to do a world record, because the guy who held the world record got lucky and was able to go all the way through without the hand grabbing him. Because if the hand would grab you, you'd have to reset the whole game, because for a world record timing. Because it was randomly generated. Because for those who don't know, like you have your little blocks that you go on to pick your worlds. But you could actually just go through all 5, and a hand wouldn't grab you. You can go on to the next level. but it would grab you. You'd have to pull you into this world. You'd have to beat it, and then you would continue on. But that was like a hair pulling for all like the world championship people, because they were like, there's no way around that. You don't know it's randomly generated. But like that always annoyed me because I hated those levels. They're really hard. But I like.
Well, that's why they put out a ROM hack where they like don't do that, so speedrunners could do that.
Right.
And a lot of like official speedrunners would allow that one particular hack to do that, just to avoid that nonsense. But
yeah, it's very, very annoying. But Super Mario Brothers 3, it holds a special place in my heart. It's also a game that I play religiously every year. I'm always picking it up every year. And I always try, I never finish, but I always try to go from World 1 to World 8. And I usually just forget about it and start over again. But because on the Wii Virtual Console, you can save games and whatnot. So, but yeah, Super Mario Brothers 3 is a special game that I'll remember to the day I die. It's so revolutionary for the industry of what 2D platforming games are.
Yeah, it was one of the first games you played where like you could go right, but you could also go back left, and you could go up and down. Like the level would move all over the place, which was like a real technical marvel for the NES at the time. Like most games do not do that.
Yeah, it was, to think that it was on the same system. Like for me, Super Mario Brothers 3 felt like it was on another system. Like even though it wasn't, just because of all the things you just mentioned and how the technical prowess of what that game did. Like still to this day is a game that I show my son. Like, hey, this game is this game that you need to play and a game that you need to respect because it's a game that pretty much changed the way we play video games. Kind of like everything in our list tonight, dude.
Oh yeah.
I feel like Call of Duty and with Doom and like everything we talked about tonight.
Everything was a game changer in its own way,
right?
For gaming.
Yeah. So we thank you so much. I mean, this went a little over our hour, but hey, this is a conversational podcast. We love talking about things we love. Mike, awesome. He had some amazing games in there. Duce had some amazing games. Of course, I breezed through mine, but we got to chat a little bit about Super Mario Brothers 3. Super Mario Brothers 3 is awesome. So, any last words, gentlemen, before we head out in the internets?
No, definitely. Thanks for staying around. Thank you for watching us on video.
Yep. And Mike, where can people find you on the internet?
Stone the Forbidden on YouTube, Stone501 on Twitter, and then you can find me on PlayStation Network as Stone500 as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us again with the Happy Hour with Johnny and Duce. You're
Thanks for having
awesome. Tell your wife Angela we said hello and we miss her.
For sure.
And of course, Happy Hour with Johnny and Duce. We are a twice weekly podcast dropping on Tuesdays and Fridays. And there's several ways people can find us on the internet. They can find us Facebook.com/Happy Hour Podcast Shows. You can see on our banner behind us at HH Podcast Show on Twitter. And of course, there's 3 ways people can put in our hashtags for our social media. It is hashtag Happy Hour Podcast, hashtag HH Podcast Show, and hashtag Deuces on the Loose.
Later.